Hello, it's Ed. Thanks for joining me. I hope you're well. It may look like I'm in the middle of the countryside today, but don't be fooled. I am actually just a minute's walk from the centre of one of the bigger suburbs of Stockport, which is Cheadle. And I am here for a very specific purpose. There's a particular shot that I want to get, but I have to wait until nightfall, and that is about an hour and a half away. So in the meantime, I wanted to use this opportunity to test out a camera that I've been talking about testing for a while. And this is it. It is the Riva Mini, the Minolta Riva Mini. And if you remember, Lucy took this to Gran Canaria and got some lovely shots with it, and I said I was going to give it a proper look at when I got back. And Lucy loved this camera, which is a dangerous thing because last time she loved a camera, that was the Olympus XA2. I got hooked on the XA series. I spent a fortune getting the XA, XA1, XA2, XA4. You've probably seen all that. So if I love it, it's probably going to cost me a fortune because I'm going to have to get one for myself. And maybe I'll get the one that's almost the same, but not quite, which has the little red dot on it. We'll talk about that later as well. But I'm going to, first of all, load up with some Ultramax because it's getting to winter time. Well, we're in winter time, so there's not much light. So I've gone from my usual Colour Plus to Ultramax, which is my go-to film in the winter months. I'm going to load this up, I'm going to head into Cheadle Village, maybe grab a coffee, take a few shots around Cheadle Village, getting a feel for what this camera can do and whether it will be a good companion for me and a replacement for those XAs. Then we will go and take that particular shot that I want to get, and then we will head off and get this developed, and hopefully I will have a verdict as to whether this is going to become my everyday carry or if I'm going to have to look for something else. But without further ado, let's crack on, let's get into Cheadle, we'll load up, we'll get shooting. So first things first, a coffee to warm up at Starbucks, and then finding a little place to load the film. And where better than overlooking a graveyard. So here we are in Cheadle Village, and let's load up. So here we go, Ultramax. And I think we don't need to even turn this on. We just pop it open, little catch there. That's how it looks in the back, and there's the auto loading sign there. So we'll just line the film up with that. There you go, 400 speed film, just pops in there like that. I will close the back. Now nothing has happened, but I'm hoping that when I then press on off, it will all spring into life. It's flashing 0, which means it hasn't loaded properly. So maybe I just didn't do it quite far enough in. So I'll just pull it a little bit further along. There we go. It's definitely aligned with those sprocket holes. Let's close the back. Oh yes, I could hear it taking it up. And there we go, we're on number 1 there. And you'll notice that it's saying auto. There's 2 flashes in auto. If I press that, it goes to 1 flash in auto. There are 2 flashes, 1 flash, flash off. So if I switch off again, does it remember that? No, we're back to 2 flashes in auto, so we're going to have to remember 4 presses to turn off the flash so that we don't accidentally set it off if we take a street photograph. And we need to work out what the difference is between 2 flashes, 1 flashes and auto. So you can see also there is a self-timer mode there. Yeah, it's just a single self-timer mode, so I'm imagining it's a 10-second self-timer. This pops out when you do it. So how long does it take to fire it? Let's see, 1,000, 2,000... just over a second, I'd say, to get fired up. So that is slower than just pulling the XA cover over. And again, there is that whirring noise, which I'm imagining we will get when we wind on as well. But let us find out more about this as we go and take some pictures. Right. So when I'm talking about replacing my carry around, I'm going to be comparing it with the XA, the Olympus XA, which is what I usually use as my carry around. That has the advantages of rangefinder focusing, aperture priority. It's slim, it's pocketable, it's quiet, but it doesn't have autofocus. It doesn't have a built-in flash. The shutter release button can be a little bit fiddly. Could the Minolta be a good upgrade? So I walked onto Cheadle High Street preparing the camera for stealth street mode by turning the flash off as I went, and the first thing I saw was this bench. Okay, so this kind of follows on from the Sheffield video. I don't know if you saw it with the mental health messages. That's a note saying to look after your mental health and important. I just tried to take a picture of it. I was too close, but that is straight away something with my first shot that I'm noticing on this, that I can't get as close as I could with the XAs. It came out perfectly. The writing is really crisp, so I think there's a really good lens on this camera. It is supposed to have a fantastic lens, not as fantastic apparently as the Leica version. And yes, there is a Leica version which is almost identical to this camera. That's what I was talking about, the red dot. And that has, is it an Elmerit lens? I can't remember, but the special Leica lenses that are supposed to be so amazing. But look at the clarity of this lens, and the colour rendition is fantastic as well on this film. So I don't think I need anything more than that. Yeah, really, really pleased with that as a first shot. So this camera, when it's closed, it certainly fits into a pocket like that, no problem. Will it fit into my top pocket? Let's see. There we go. So it fits into a top pocket as well. That is nice and dinky, isn't it? I do like that. Obviously, there's the starting up and shutting down because the end pokes out. But that's kind of as good as the XAs, I think. So, yeah, nice. Now, this might be quite fun. I like shooting through these shutters here. And we'll see how that comes out. It looks actually quite cool just as it is, but will the camera do it justice? And yes, I think it does. Again, really, really sharp. The focusing seems to be spot on. And the exposure is really good as well. So the metering seems to be right too. Yeah, it's looking promising so far. So that is the special thing that I'm here to photograph. But not until it gets dark, because at the moment it just looks like a boring petrol station. But at night, trust me, it looks fantastic. I know it's a bit of a cliche, a picture of a petrol station or a gas station, but I just really want to have that one in my portfolio. I think it's a really interesting one and it's worth getting a shot for. But will this do the trick, or will I need to revert to using my digital, which I've got with me as a backup, because this won't do the business? I have got a little mini tripod, so I can hold it steady. I'll probably use the self-timer mode to try and get it. But it's going to be about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour before it's going to be dark enough to get that shot. So we'll get a few more pictures in the village first. So I found myself a person to photograph, and I'm going to see whether, if I keep my finger down on the shutter release, whether it doesn't wind on, because I've noticed that it's quite a quiet camera, but the wind on is always a little bit annoying and tends to attract attention if you're taking a picture in the street. So using him, I'm going to try and see if I press this button and then I wait before I lift it up, will it pause and not wind on until I've lifted it? Yes, did you hear that? It did pause until I lifted my finger off. So that long wind on noise could be avoided if I remembered to not lift my finger. And I actually quite like this picture. The guy looks a little bit crazy, and the fact that he's got a woman's shoe between his legs. I don't know. I'm sure you could make some sort of story up there. But yeah, moving on. So it's starting to get a little bit dark now. You can see the lights on the cars have come on and everything's looking a little bit darker. So it'll be interesting to see how the metering of this works if I try and take a picture through a window, and we'll see if it will meter on what's inside or if it will try and meter on everything around the edges and get blurry. Let's give it a go. Yeah, again, I think that's a really good result. It is probably a centre weighted metering. Again, I've not looked at the manuals for this camera. I'm just taking it, picking it up, seeing what I can do with it and judging it as I go. And that is pretty good, I think. Not a very interesting shot, but it shows that the camera is doing what it's supposed to. And after taking that, I did get closer in to the shop and take a view through the window, and I think that works really well as well. The neon has come out really nicely. Everything is sharp. The contrast is good, and the colours seem to be fairly accurate as well. So yeah, another point in favour of this camera. This is lit up, this stop sign, and you know stop signs part of a hypervigilance project, and there's a tree which is dark behind it. So I'm going to try and focus have that in the center and see how it all comes out, whether we'll get overexposed, underexposed, what. So yes, even in this more extreme example, it's still doing what it should. Nicely exposed, the tree slightly silhouetted behind, but there's enough detail there. It's sharp front to back, and this was quite close up, so I'm really pleased with that as well. So one of the good things about this camera, of course, is it is DX coded, so I don't have to worry about setting the DX, it just does it automatically. But the negative side of that, again, is that you cannot override it. And if I'd had the option, I would have maybe chosen to underexpose by selecting an 800 speed or even 1600 speed and just taking the hit on quality. But anyway, maybe it's still okay. So all the shots I've taken on the street, I've had the flash off, but I do need to test how the flash operates, because I want this to be a carry around to take pictures when I'm in the pub with friends or something like that as well, just for little friendly shots, not street shots. So when I've done that shot of the petrol station, maybe head off for a drink, see if Lucy will pose for a picture for me, just so I can test that flash out. Okay, so let's do a little bit of time travel. And here you can see 3 shots I've taken. One with what I now know is red eye reduction flash. That appears to be the 2 lightning bolts. One with just ordinary flash, the single lightning bolt, and one without the flash. And I think you'll agree that there doesn't seem to be much difference between the red eye reduction and the other one, and it is quite annoying having a flashing red light, which is what you get for a couple of seconds before the picture's taken. So I think I would always shoot just with ordinary flash. The focusing worked fine. They're nice pictures, so it's good for nighttime photography in pubs and things, and better than the XA series, because if you remember, the XA has to have the side flash bolted to it, which makes it a lot bigger, a lot more cumbersome. So you've got to decide, I'm really going to need the flash or just do without it. Riva Mini scoring over the XA in this particular situation, I think. So it's getting proper dark, and I've just made the amazing discovery that I put a banana in my backpack. So bad is that. It's starting to feel really ropey. This will do the trick. So there's still some time to kill before I felt it would be dark enough to shoot the petrol station. So I wandered from Cheadle village towards Cheadle Heath, where it's just a little bit more gritty, and I found something that really appealed to me. I don't know why, but I always find just like tyre places and things like that really interesting, so I gotta take a picture of that. Yet here, maybe the camera let me down a little bit because it's underexposed, and I suppose the contrast between the lights inside the neon, the fluorescent tubes, and the darkness outside, it was just a little bit too much of it. And of course you've got that yellow glow because of the white balance being different inside and outside, and because the exposure isn't great, the figure in the entrance to the auto care centre is slightly lost in the shadows there, and it's too muddy for me to bring anything out. I could rescan the negative and see if I could get more out of it, but it's probably not worth it. It's not a great shot. But as I was walking back from that, I spotted something which really did appeal to me, and this doesn't look as impressive on the camera as it did in real life, because that bus shelter really was standing out and glowing in the darkness, which it was getting pretty dark by this point. It's okay. I like the way the fluorescent tube is obviously giving that green glow, and the water on the ground is just giving a little bit of a sheen, but it's not as dramatic as it looked. But having taken that shot, I got a little bit closer because I was wondering why there was nothing in that advertising hoarding, and I got this shot, which I think is much more interesting, which is the crumbled poster, which has obviously been pulled or fallen out of that hoarding and disintegrated in the rain that there had been on the floor. And I like the composition I've got here with the corner of the board, just to show what it was, kind of pointing in towards the face of the model that was in the photograph, disintegrated on the floor. I think you could read a lot into that photograph if you wanted to. I think you could say a lot about fashion, about life itself, but maybe I'm getting a bit deep for a photograph that is actually just to illustrate whether a camera works or not. But it shows that you can get something quite impressive with this camera, given the right situation and a little bit of skill. This one, probably my favourite shot of the trip. There is a business on the left and there is a bar on the right. There is a figure in each of those places, almost identically posed, but one's at work and one's at leisure. And I think that's a real contrast there. It says so much to me. And I think there's enough detail in this shot that I could actually zoom in and blow up the middle part of this image, because I think just showing it a little bit closer up would be better. But on this scan, there's probably not enough resolution to make it look as good as it should. But yeah, really like that. And I think the lighting's really nice and the camera's done a great job. It's just one of those scenes that you might spot by chance when you're out for a wander, and you wouldn't have a big SLR with you, but you might have a camera in your pocket. And this is exactly what I need a carry around for. If I spot this, I want to get a nice film picture. I don't want to just take a snap on my phone, but I don't want to be lugging around a massive camera. So this is reminding me why I'm searching for a perfect carry around, and this is suggesting that this might be that perfect carry around, although we can see that there are aspects of it already which I don't think mean it will be. So as I was walking back to the petrol station and it was getting really dark, it was still working hours because obviously we're in the winter, and I just spotted this through a doorway and I had to take a picture because this dog was just looking straight at me. He was being groomed in this grooming parlour, and I just really like this little shot, and it shows the power of this little camera. It was able to take a really sharp shot. I think I would have struggled to manually focus an XA, for example, through the glass, but this little Mini, it hasn't been bothered by the window. It's seen the scene behind it and it's focused for that. So the dog is completely sharp, and yeah, it's a nice little shot, a nice little memento. And so finally it was time to take the picture of the petrol station, but it wasn't really time, and you can see that on the film picture. It's too light, there's too much light in the sky. What I wanted was to show complete darkness with just the illumination of the petrol station itself, and you wouldn't be able to see those trees, you wouldn't be able to see any sky, you wouldn't be able to see any foreground detail. But I had to get back. I had checked for when dusk was, but I needed another hour and a half, I think, after dusk for the light to have properly gone from the sky. I did take a digital shot, and this is kind of a proof of concept. This is how it should look, but it's not exactly how the digital photo looked. There was a lot more contrast. I was able to control it more, but this has had extreme dodging and burning done to the extent at which I think it becomes a fake. If you know what I mean. You've seen my videos where I talk about how I don't like to alter and digitally manipulate images. So this, I believe, has crossed the line, and it's not one that I would show. In fact, what I'm going to do after I've done this video, I'm going back to try and shoot this and to get it for real. And if I do, I will post it on my Instagram so you can see the reality. But this is how it looked to me when I went past it the first time, when I was thinking, oh, I really want to get that shot, but it's not how it looked on the night. So although it's real, it's not real enough for me, and I've got to do it properly. But there we go. It was a reason to go out and to test this camera, and so it justified the trip, because I think I've really learned whether this is the camera for me. And I think the answer is no. I think the answer is it's a little bit too noisy, it's a little bit too slow to start up. The fact that the flash comes on without warning when you restart it is annoying. I don't like cameras that shut themselves down when they've been idle for a while. The lens is fantastic. The quality of the shots is really nice, but it won't focus too close. It does have little quirks that I don't like about it. I don't like the fact that you can't override the DX coding. I still think, for me, if I'm going to have a carry around film camera, and again, I'm questioning, really, do I want to carry around digital camera? It's the XA, the original Olympus XA, because it has that ability to focus close, the manual rangefinder. You can override the DX code. It does only go up to 800, which is a little bit of a nuisance. I would rather it went up to 1600, but it is easier to use. It's quieter to use. It's tiny bit smaller. The lens, I think, is as good a quality. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to stick with the XA or look again at digital. So that's the end of another video. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back with something very soon, and until we meet again, take care of yourselves, enjoy your shooting. Bye for now.